7 Little Johnstons. Trent compares marriage to golf with crazy innuendo, one ball, one stick the whole time. In the ever-evolving world of reality television, few families have captured the hearts of viewers quite like the Johnstons. For over a decade, 7 Little Johnstons has offered audiences an intimate, humorous, and often heartwarming glimpse into the lives of Trent and Amber Johnston and their 5 children, Jonah, Elizabeth, Emma, Anna, and Alex, all of whom live with achondroplasia, a common form of dwarfism. The show, which premiered on TLC in 2015, quickly distinguished itself not only for its representation of little people but also for its authentic portrayal of family dynamics, teenage growing pains, and the universal challenges of parenting. But amidst the heartfelt moments and relatable chaos of raising 5 kids, it's Trent Johnston's unfiltered humor and occasional accidental innuendo that often steals the spotlight. In a recent episode that left fans buzzing on social media, Trent offered a golf analogy to describe the nature of long-term marriage, and what followed was a masterclass in unintentional double entendre that had viewers doing a double take. "Marriage is like golf," Trent declared with the earnestness of a man who truly believes he's delivering profound wisdom. "You've got one ball, one stick, the whole time." The line, delivered casually during a backyard conversation with his wife Amber, was clearly meant as a wholesome metaphor about commitment and consistency in marriage. But thanks to the suggestive phrasing, "one ball, one stick," the internet erupted. Memes flooded Twitter, TikTok compilations exploded, and Reddit threads dissected whether Trent was secretly a stand-up comedian or just blissfully unaware of the implications of his words. To be fair, Trent has never been one to mince words. Known for his dry wit, southern drawl, and dad joke energy, he's the kind of father who'll deadpan a ridiculous statement with a straight face, leaving everyone around him either groaning or howling with laughter. But this particular analogy struck a chord, or perhaps a nerve, because it was so perfectly absurd, so unintentionally risque, and yet so quintessentially Trent. The scene unfolded during a rare moment of calm in the typically bustling Johnston household. With the kids off doing their own things, Jonah working on music, Elizabeth navigating young adulthood, Emma and Anna balancing school and social lives, and Alex adjusting to life as the youngest, Trent and Amber found themselves alone on the patio, sipping iced tea and reflecting on their 25-plus years of marriage. Amber, ever the pragmatic and grounded counterpart to Trent's whimsical musings, had just expressed how rewarding it is to have built a life together through thick and thin. "It's not always easy," she said, "but sticking with the same person through everything, that's what makes it special." That's when Trent, leaning back in his lawn chair with a mischievous glint in his eye, launched into his golf analogy. "Exactly," he nodded. "It's like golf. You don't switch clubs every hole just 'cause you're having a bad round. Nah, you stick with your driver, your putter, your one ball. One ball, one stick the whole time." Amber, used to her husband's quirky turns of phrase, simply chuckled and shook her head. "You and your analogies," she said affectionately. But viewers at home weren't as composed. Within hours, clips of the moment went viral. "Did Trent just say that on national television?" one fan tweeted. Another posted a screenshot with the caption, "Trent out here giving marriage advice like it's a locker room conversation." A popular TikTok creator even set the audio to a slow-motion golf swing, captioning it, "When your husband explains fidelity using sports metaphors that sound like a rom-com punchline." At its core, the humor in Trent's statement lies in the collision between innocence and implication. There's no evidence that Trent intended any sexual innuendo. He's a devoted family man who's spent years on camera discussing everything from parenting to home renovations to navigating life as a little person in a world built for average height. His comment was almost certainly meant as a sincere, if slightly clumsy, metaphor about loyalty. But language is slippery. Words like ball and stick carry multiple meanings, and in the context of a conversation about lifelong partnership, the subconscious mind can't help but wander into risque territory. It's the same kind of accidental humor that happens when someone says, "I'm going to bed," and a friend replies, "Alone?" Suddenly turning a mundane statement into a loaded question. Moreover, the contrast between Trent's wholesome persona and the suggestive phrasing amplifies the comedy. He's not a raunchy comedian or a reality star known for shock value. He's a dad who coaches Little League, fixes leaky faucets, and worries about his kids' screen time. That's why the line feels so jarring and hilarious. It's like your grandfather accidentally quoting a Drake lyric. This moment also highlights a key element of the Johnston family's appeal, their ability to laugh at themselves. Throughout the series, Trent and Amber have never taken themselves too seriously. Whether they're attempting DIY home projects that inevitably go sideways or navigating the chaos of 5 teenagers under one roof, humor is their coping mechanism and their secret weapon. Trent's golf analogy, while unintentionally suggestive, fits perfectly into this pattern. It's the kind of thing that would be repeated at family dinners for years. Remember when Dad compared marriage to golf and Mom nearly choked on her sweet tea? In fact, in a follow-up Instagram post, Amber teased Trent by captioning a photo of him holding a golf club, still using the same stick after 26 years. Smirking face #marriage goals #don't ask him to explain. Beneath the viral meme lies a surprisingly tender message. When Trent says one ball, one stick the whole time, he's really talking about fidelity, patience, and choosing your partner every single day, even when life gets messy. Golf, as a sport, requires focus, discipline, and acceptance of imperfection. You don't win by switching equipment constantly, you improve by mastering what you've got. In the same way, a strong marriage isn't about finding the perfect person, it's about committing to the person you chose, working through challenges together, and refusing to give up when things get tough. Trent may not have articulated it in poetic terms, but his core message aligns with decades of relationship research. Long-term success in marriage hinges on consistency, communication, and mutual respect. Interestingly, this isn't the first time Trent has used sports analogies to explain life lessons. In earlier seasons, he compared parenting to coaching a team. You've gotta adjust your strategy for each player, and described financial planning as building a sand trap. You want to avoid it, but you better be ready if you land in one. His analogies may be unconventional, but they come from a place of lived experience and genuine care. Trent's golf gaffe also taps into a broader cultural fascination with accidental innuendo in media. From politicians' awkward press conference slips to celebrity interviews gone sideways, we're endlessly entertained by moments when someone says something perfectly innocent that sounds anything but. Part of the appeal is the human element. It reminds us that even on scripted or semi-scripted TV, people are still just people. They fumble their words, make odd comparisons, and sometimes sound like they're describing something wildly different than what they mean. In an age of highly curated social media personas and polished reality TV edits, these unguarded moments feel refreshingly real. Moreover, the Johnstons have built their brand on authenticity. Unlike some reality families that lean into manufactured drama, the Johnstons prioritize relatability. They argue about chores, celebrate small victories, and navigate the complexities of identity and independence with grace. So when Trent drops a line that sounds like it belongs in a rom-com or a stand-up routine, it feels like a bonus, a little unexpected joy in an otherwise ordinary scene. The response to Trent's comment also illustrates the tight-knit community that's grown around 7 Little Johnstons. Fans don't just watch the show, they engage with it, dissect it, and celebrate it. Message boards light up after each episode, fan accounts create elaborate edits, and hashtags trend on premiere nights. In this case, the one ball, one stick moment became a rallying point for humor and affection. Rather than mocking Trent, most fans embraced the line as a testament to his endearing quirks. "This is why we love you, Trent," one commenter wrote. "Never change." Others used the quote to reflect on their own relationships. "My husband and I have been married 20 years, still using the same stick, baby." Even TLC leaned into the moment, sharing a blooper reel on their official YouTube channel titled Trent's Golf Lesson, Marriage Edition, complete with exaggerated golf swing sound effects and a cheeky wink from Amber. At the end of the day, Trent Johnston's golf analogy, however suggestive it may sound, was never about innuendo. It was about love. It was about showing up, day after day, with the same person, through the rough patches and the fairways. And if that message comes wrapped in a hilariously awkward metaphor involving balls and sticks, so be it. Seven Little Johnstons continues to thrive not because of dramatic storylines or sensational twists, but because of moments like these, real, unscripted, and full of heart. Trent may have accidentally given the internet a new meme, but he also reminded us of something important. Marriage isn't about perfection. It's about partnership. It's about choosing each other, again and again, with the same club in hand. And if that club happens to double as a metaphor for commitment, well, maybe it's time to tee up another episode. Because in the Johnston household, love is always in play, even when the commentary gets a little wild. Seven Little Johnstons, Trent Johnston and his mom sit face to face for a serious chat. What was it about? In one of the most emotionally resonant and talked about moments in the history of Seven Little Johnstons, Trent Johnston and his mother, Amber Johnston, sat down for a deeply personal and serious conversation that left viewers both moved and reflective. Unlike the show's usual lighthearted antics, sibling rivalries, or home renovation projects, this particular exchange peeled back the layers of their relationship to reveal something far more complex: the tension between parental love and a young adult's yearning for independence. The conversation wasn't sparked by a dramatic blow-up or a scandalous revelation. It was the quiet culmination of growing pains, evolving identities, and the universal struggle of letting go. For fans who have followed the Johnston family since the show's debut in 2015, Trent has always occupied a unique space. As the only biological child of Trent Sr. and Amber, and the sole son among four sisters, Trent often carried an unspoken sense of responsibility. From an early age, he was portrayed as energetic, charismatic, and occasionally mischievous, but always deeply loved. As he matured into his late teens and early 20s, however, the narrative around him began to shift. No longer just the cute little brother, Trent started asserting his autonomy in ways that sometimes clashed with his parents' protective instincts, particularly Amber's. The episode in question opens with a calm, almost serene atmosphere. The Johnston home in Forsyth, Georgia, a place that has witnessed everything from chaotic breakfast scrambles to heartfelt adoption celebrations, is unusually quiet. Amber suggests they talk, and Trent, sensing the gravity in her tone, agrees without his usual playful resistance. They sit across from each other in the living room, sunlight streaming through the windows, casting soft shadows that seem to mirror the emotional weight settling between them. At first, the conversation appears routine. Amber asks about Trent's plans for the week, his job, his social life, whether he's been keeping up with chores. But then she gently steers the discussion towards something deeper: his future. Specifically, she brings up his increasing desire to move out and live on his own. This topic had been simmering beneath the surface for months. Trent had been vocal about wanting his own space, his own apartment, his own rules, his own life. To him, it wasn't about rejecting his family, it was about proving he could stand on his own 2 feet, both literally and figuratively. At 5 feet 0 inches, a height typical for someone with achondroplasia, Trent had spent his entire life navigating a world not built for his stature. Yet within the walls of his family home, he'd always had support, accommodations, and unconditional love. Now, he was ready to test those wings. But for Amber, the idea of Trent moving out triggered a cascade of emotions. As a mother who had dedicated her life to advocacy, education, and creating a safe, inclusive environment for her children, all of whom have dwarfism, letting go felt like relinquishing a part of her protective mission. She worried about whether the outside world would treat him fairly, whether landlords would accommodate his needs, whether he'd be safe navigating everyday challenges without the family safety net. "I just want you to be ready," Amber says, her voice soft but laced with concern. "It's not that I don't think you can do it. I know you're capable. But the world, it's not always kind to people like us." Trent listens intently, his usual bravado momentarily set aside. He nods, acknowledging her fears, but then leans forward, his expression earnest. "Mom, I get it. I really do. But if I never try, how will I ever know? You and Dad taught us to be independent, to speak up for ourselves. Isn't this just the next step?" This exchange cuts to the heart of the episode's central theme, the paradox of parenting children with disabilities. On one hand, Amber and Trent Sr. have worked tirelessly to instill confidence, resilience, and self-advocacy in all their kids. On the other, they've also had to shield them from discrimination, physical barriers, and societal ignorance. Now, as their children reach adulthood, that balance becomes increasingly difficult to maintain. The conversation takes a more personal turn when Amber reveals a vulnerability she rarely shows on camera. She admits that part of her resistance isn't just about practical concerns, it's about loss. "You're my baby," she says, her voice cracking slightly. "Even though you're a man now, in my heart, I still see the little boy who needed help reaching the sink or climbing into the car. Letting you go feels like I'm failing you somehow." Trent is visibly moved. He reaches across the coffee table and takes her hand. "You're not failing me, Mom. You've done everything right. That's why I can do this. Because of you." This moment crystallizes the emotional core of the scene. It's not really about moving out. It's about trust. It's about a mother learning to trust that her son is ready, and a son reassuring his mother that her love and guidance have prepared him for the world beyond their front door. The discussion also touches on Trent's romantic life, a topic that has occasionally caused friction in the past. Amber, ever the protective parent, has expressed concerns about who Trent dates and how those relationships might affect his emotional well-being. In this conversation, she doesn't interrogate him about specific partners, but instead asks, "Are you surrounding yourself with people who see you for who you really are, not just your height, but your heart, your mind, your dreams?" Trent assures her he is. He speaks about the importance of mutual respect and shared values in his relationships, echoing lessons he's clearly absorbed from his parents' own strong marriage. It's a subtle but powerful reminder that the Johnstons' parenting philosophy has taken root. What makes this conversation so compelling is its universality. While the context, raising children with dwarfism in a world designed for average height people, adds a unique layer, the underlying emotions are ones every parent and child can recognize. The fear of letting go. The desire to be seen as capable. The ache of watching someone you love step into the unknown. Later in the episode, Trent Sr. joins the conversation, offering a more pragmatic perspective. He acknowledges the logistical challenges of independent living, kitchen modifications, vehicle adaptations, accessibility concerns, but also expresses pride in Trent's ambition. "If anyone can figure it out, it's you," he says with a half-smile. "Just promise you'll call if you need help. We're not disappearing, we're just shifting roles." This idea of shifting roles becomes a recurring motif. The Johnstons aren't just a family, they're a team. And as Trent moves toward adulthood, the team dynamic must evolve. He's no longer just a player being coached from the sidelines, he's becoming a co-captain. In the days following the talk, viewers see Trent taking concrete steps toward his goal. He researches accessible apartments, budgets his income from his job at the family's business, and even consults with older adults in the dwarfism community about their experiences living independently. Meanwhile, Amber begins the slow, bittersweet process of acceptance. She starts compiling a list of local resources, contacts landlords about potential modifications, and, most tellingly, cleans out a box of Trent's childhood mementos, her hands lingering on a tiny pair of shoes he wore as a toddler. The episode doesn't end with Trent moving out. Instead, it closes on a note of cautious optimism. He hasn't signed a lease yet, but the conversation has opened a door, both literally and metaphorically. More importantly, it has strengthened the bond between mother and son. By speaking honestly, listening without judgment, and acknowledging each other's fears and hopes, they've laid the groundwork for a new chapter in their relationship. Social media erupted after the episode aired. Fans praised the show for tackling such a nuanced topic with grace and authenticity. Many adult children with disabilities shared their own stories of navigating independence, while parents expressed gratitude for the honest portrayal of their fears and hopes. Disability advocates noted how rare it is to see media depict the transition to adulthood for people with dwarfism, not as a tragedy or a triumph, but as a normal, complex human experience. Critically, the episode avoids portraying either Trent or Amber as right or wrong. Amber's concerns are valid, rooted in real-world challenges faced by people with dwarfism, discrimination in housing, employment barriers, physical inaccessibility. At the same time, Trent's desire for autonomy is equally legitimate. The show doesn't offer easy answers. Instead, it presents a family working through uncertainty together. This moment also highlights how far Little Johnstons has come since its early seasons. Initially marketed as a reality show about a family where everyone has dwarfism, it has matured into a thoughtful exploration of identity, family dynamics, and what it means to live fully in a world that often overlooks difference. Trent's journey mirrors that evolution, from a child defined by his condition to a young man defining his own path. Back in the living room, as the conversation winds down, Amber wipes a tear from her cheek and smiles. "I'm proud of you, Trent," she says simply. And in that moment, the weight of her words is palpable. It's not just pride in his accomplishments, but in his courage, his self-awareness, and his willingness to have this hard conversation in the first place. Trent grins, the same mischievous, warm grin viewers have loved for years, but there's a new maturity in his eyes. "Thanks, Mom. That means everything." As the camera pulls back, showing the two of them sitting in comfortable silence, the message is clear: growing up isn't about leaving your family behind. It's about carrying their love with you as you step into your own life. In the weeks that followed, Trent continued to work toward his goal of independent living, with his parents' support growing steadier as their fears gave way to trust. And while the Johnston story is unique in many ways, this particular chapter resonates with anyone who has ever stood at the threshold of adulthood, heart pounding, ready to leap, while someone they love watches from the doorway, hoping they'll fly. Ultimately, the serious chat between Trent and Amber wasn't just about moving out. It was about love, legacy, and the quiet bravery it takes to let go, and to be let go of. And in a world that often reduces people with disabilities to their limitations, this moment was a powerful reminder of their full humanity, complex, capable, and worthy of every dream they dare to chase.